Parent Guide, Supporting Your Baby in Week 4, 4 weeks in. You have fed your baby roughly 250 times. You have had fewer full nights of sleep than you can count. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, something has changed. Quietly, without announcement, you have become a parent. Not just in name, in bone and instinct and reflex. This week, we build on that. Welcome back to Tiny Steps Weekly. Week 4 is a meaningful week for parents, not just for babies. The acute survival intensity of the first 3 weeks is beginning to ease, and there is a little more space now. Not a lot, but some, to be intentional about how you are supporting your baby's development and your own well-being. Today we are going to talk about how to make the most of Week 4. How to use your baby's growing alert periods, how to start thinking about gentle rhythm building without rigid schedules, and what you can do to take care of yourself as you begin to emerge from the fog of the newborn period. Your baby's alert periods are longer and more consistent in Week 4 than they have been at any point so far. This is your most important resource this week. Those 20 to 30-minute windows of calm wakefulness are the richest opportunity for interaction, learning, and connection, and how you use them matters. The most valuable thing you can offer during your baby's alert periods is still the same thing it has been since Week 1: your face, your voice, and your responsive presence. But in Week 4, you can begin to make these interactions slightly more structured and intentional. Try this. During an alert period, position your baby so they can clearly see your face and engage in what researchers call serve and return interaction. You make a sound or expression. You wait. You watch for any response from your baby. A movement, a change in expression, a sound. You respond to that response. This back and forth, even when it is very subtle and slow, is the fundamental structure of all human communication. Every serve and return exchange you have with your baby is building the neural circuits for language, social connection, and emotional intelligence. Week 4 is an appropriate time to begin thinking about a very gentle daily rhythm. Not a schedule, but a sequence. The difference matters. A schedule says, feeding happens at 9, 12, and 3. A rhythm says, we tend to do feeding, then a brief wakeful period, then sleep. And that sequence repeats through the day. A rhythm follows your baby's cues. A schedule imposes timing regardless of cues. At 4 weeks, rhythm is appropriate. Schedule is not. A simple eat-play-sleep rhythm is a useful framework for Week 4. After a feeding, if your baby is alert, offer a brief period of interaction. FaceTime, talking, gentle movement. When you see sleepy cues, begin settling for sleep. This sequence, repeated consistently, begins to give your baby a sense of predictability without forcing them into a rigid timetable their nervous system is not yet ready for. Even the smallest rhythms create a sense of safety for a newborn's developing brain. Predictability is the foundation of security. You do not need a perfect routine. You need a recognizable sequence. Many parents at 4 weeks begin to notice the first hints of a longer nighttime stretch. Sometimes 3 to 4 hours in a row, usually in the early part of the night. If this is happening for you, it is a sign that your baby's circadian rhythm is beginning to emerge. Encourage it gently by keeping the sleep environment dark and quiet at night, and exposing your baby to natural light during the day. If you are not yet seeing any longer stretches, that is also completely normal. Sleep consolidation at this age varies enormously between babies and is influenced by temperament, feeding method, and individual neurological development. The range of normal in week 4 is wide. One practical change worth making this week if you haven't already: begin a short, consistent bedtime routine. It does not need to be elaborate. A warm bath, a gentle massage, a feed, a song, into the sleep space. The sequence matters more than the duration. Over time, and it does take time, weeks to months, this sequence becomes a powerful sleep cue for your baby's brain. You are essentially training the nervous system to associate this sequence with sleep. It will not work overnight, but the earlier you begin, the sooner it becomes effective. Week 4 is the week to lean fully into face-to-face play. Get close. Make faces. Stick out your tongue slowly. Raise your eyebrows. Open your mouth wide in exaggerated surprise. Research has shown that newborns are capable of rudimentary facial imitation, and at 4 weeks, this capacity is becoming more reliable. When you make a slow, exaggerated facial expression and hold it, watch your baby's face carefully. You may see them working to mirror it. This is one of the most enchanting things a 4-week-old can do, and it is profoundly meaningful developmentally. Talking remains one of your most powerful bonding and developmental tools. In week 4, try adding more varied emotion to your speech, not just narrating events, but expressing feeling. "Oh, I love this time with you. Look how awake and alert you are today. You had a hard night, didn't you? That was tough for both of us." Your baby cannot understand the words, but they are reading the emotional tone of your voice with remarkable sensitivity. Emotional attunement through voice is one of the earliest building blocks of empathy. Reading aloud for a few minutes during an alert period is also valuable this week. Choose books with bold, high-contrast illustrations, simple black and white patterns, or books with large, clear images of faces. Hold the book close, within 12 inches, and point to images as you name them. Your baby will not understand, but they will look, and looking is learning. One of the most common mistakes I see at 4 weeks is parents beginning to worry that they have not established enough of a routine and overcompensating by imposing a rigid structure too early. I want to gently push back on that impulse. Your baby's sleep and feeding patterns in week 4 are still heavily driven by biological rhythms and developmental needs that you cannot override with scheduling. Forcing a rigid feeding schedule before your baby's hunger patterns have consolidated can undermine milk supply in breastfeeding mothers, lead to underfeeding, and create unnecessary stress for both parent and baby. Trust the rhythm. The schedule will come in its own time. Another mistake to avoid this week is reducing tummy time because your baby is more tolerant of it than they were. More tolerance does not mean less need. Aim for a total of 20 to 30 minutes of tummy time across the day in week 4, broken into manageable sessions of 3 to 5 minutes each. And finally, please do not neglect the 4-week pediatric visit if you have one scheduled. This appointment is an opportunity to assess your baby's growth, development, and feeding, and to raise any concerns you have been holding. Write them down before you go, because sleep deprivation makes it very easy to forget what you wanted to ask the moment you are sitting in the doctor's office. At 4-week visits, I always ask parents one question that goes beyond the clinical. How are you doing? Not the baby, you. The answer I receive tells me more about the health of the family than almost any other piece of information. Parents who are finding moments of joy alongside the exhaustion, who can identify 1 or 2 things that are going well, tend to be building resilience. Parents who are entirely consumed by anxiety, who cannot identify a single positive moment in the past week, who are persistently tearful or feeling detached from their baby. Those are the parents I want to spend more time with. 4 weeks postpartum is a common time for postpartum mood disorders to become clearly apparent. If you are experiencing persistent sadness, anxiety that feels out of control, intrusive thoughts, or a feeling of disconnection from your baby or from yourself, please tell your doctor. These conditions are common, they are not your fault, and they are treatable. Asking for help is an act of love for your baby, not a sign of weakness. A question that comes up frequently at 4 weeks is it okay to let my baby look in a mirror? They seem fascinated by their own reflection. Yes, and your observation is exactly right. Babies are fascinated by mirrors, and for good reason. The high contrast image, the movement, the face, all of these are deeply compelling to a 4-week-old visual brain. What your baby does not yet know is that the face in the mirror is their own. Self-recognition in mirrors does not develop until around 18 months of age. But the value of mirror play at 4 weeks is not self-recognition. It is visual stimulation, face engagement, and the delight that comes from watching an endlessly expressive face. A baby-safe mirror positioned during tummy time is a wonderful tool. It gives your baby something visually interesting to look at, which motivates them to lift their head. That is a tummy time win. You are 4 weeks in. That is a month, a whole month of learning someone entirely new, while running on less sleep than you have ever managed before, while your body and identity are both in transition. The fact that you are here, watching this, trying to understand your baby's development and how to support it, that tells me everything I need to know about the kind of parent you are becoming. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to have a routine yet. You do not have to feel confident yet. You just have to keep showing up. With warmth, with presence, with love. You are already doing that. Keep going. Week 4 is behind you, and week 5 is ahead. The first real social smile is coming. The cooing is coming. The moment your baby looks at you and clearly, unmistakably communicates joy, that is coming. It is closer than you think. Subscribe to Tiny Steps Weekly so you are with us when we get there. Every week, we walk this journey with you, from birth to age 5, because every tiny step matters.